And a good Thursday evening, everybody. Chris McDonald with you on this 9th day of November 2023. We're so grateful tonight to have you with us tonight. And we have got a dear friend of ours on the phone. She's been with us many times in the past. And always a pleasure to have my dear friend Leslie Millwee. The last time I was on the show with you, you were feeding me dinner.
That's right.
From your kitchen.
Absolutely.
You were feeding me dinner in person from your kitchen table in Tulsa. How are you doing, dear?
I am wonderful. How about you?
I'm doing well. It's so good to have you tonight. It's been a while, and I been meaning to do this sooner, but the way the world is these days, it's sort of hard to get everything sort of lined up. But we're just grateful to talk to you tonight about a lot of things and just this and that. I do want to say that you have been such a good friend, and I remember the very, very first night we ever had you on, and we just connected, and we've stayed in touch and had a friendship since, and it's been a pleasure to say that, and you know that we are always grateful to have you here on the Mac Files tonight.
Well, back at you.
Back at you, absolutely. Listen, by the way, I'm sorry about your Astros, but at least one of the Texas teams won, right? I mean, you can't be that can't be that unhappy about it.
Well, the team that beat us won the World Series, so I guess that's some consolation.
Well, that is, and Bruce Bochy's a class act, and you got to tip your hat to the Rangers. I mean, they did it. I mean, it's baseball's tough. It's a tough sport.
It is.
My Braves played great during the regular season, and they just come up choking in the playoffs again. That's been their pattern for many years, and people don't understand how hard it is to do that, to go all the way, because there's so many levels of playoffs now. And but anyway, that's just our baseball aside. Let me ask you something. I know that you've been watching the news and you've been watching the way things have been playing out overseas, Leslie. We're going to get to some domestic issues, but I do want to ask you about this Israeli situation tonight. A lot of people may or may not know tonight is the 85th anniversary of Kristallnacht, which is basically the night, really the Holocaust really officially began, and we're going to talk about that in our afterthought tonight a little bit. But have you ever in your lifetime seen the, and we talk about this every show, it seems, and it just never ceases. There's been more of it today, more of it last week, but have you ever seen a time when there's been as much anti-Semitism in this country, and you would think that in this time of history after the 85-year anniversary of what took place back then, that we would never, ever dream of seeing the same rhetoric that came out of Nazi Germany in 1938 that led to the slaughter of 6 million Jews. And you've got government officials like Barack Obama that are out there spewing a bunch of venomous nonsense, and other left-wing leaders, and even America's own government now, they're trying to push Israel into these pauses, which I think is a grave mistake on the part of the Israelis. But from
Yes.
Leslie Millwee's perch, what have you seen? What do you think about all this? And we're faith people. Me and you've talked about this privately. You were in our show the other night, and you posted something that was so true. Look, when a nation forgets God, Leslie, it's a dangerous thing. And right now, America, we're sitting on the precipice of something huge, and I don't think it's going to be a good huge. I think it's going to be there's judgment's out the door if we don't turn things around in this country quickly. But this anti-Semitism is just adding fuel to an already burning fire over this country.
And the one thing that amazes me is that we allow this hate and Talib, of course, even being censored. What does that mean? What's going to happen to her?
Nothing.
Zero. Nothing. And these people that are protesting in our streets with hate, the man that died yesterday, I'm sorry, that guy didn't murder him. He pushed him with a bullhorn, knocked him down to the ground and killed him. That's second-degree murder, any way you want to slice it. So, just stuff like that. And I think one thing we need to keep in mind as we look at this war, you're right, from the faith aspect, I think it's safe to say that we could be in end times. I think it could go either way, but that we allow this in our universities. What has happened that we allow these people to act like that in the streets, of our cities? We as Christians couldn't do that. We couldn't get by with doing that.
Well, absolutely, we couldn't, and we'd be put in jail. And look,
we didn't.
While we're on that subject, before I forget it, I know that there is no love lost with you and the Clintons, and there was a guy that Tucker was interviewing, Douglas Mackey, tonight, that he is facing, Leslie, up to 10 years in prison. 10. You know what his crime was? His crime was mocking Hillary Clinton in a meme during the 2016 presidential election, and the federal government indicted him, found him guilty, and this guy's facing more time in prison tonight than most murderers get. That's how crazy and insane this country has gotten.
I know. You can't believe it. You can say it out loud, and you can't even believe your own, what you're saying. I think we're in an upside down world. I think it goes with faith. I think we are reaping what we've done in the universities the last 25 or 30 years, allowing all these liberals, like this psycho guy that attacked basically this man on the street voting yesterday in Virginia.
I saw that.
He works for Health and Human Services in children's advocacy. This is a guy that attacks people that don't agree with him, and this is a guy that works for our government. You and I are paying for this nutcase to run around and do what he did. If we harassed someone like that, we would be arrested. So I think everyone's sick of the double standards. I hope people that are still not on the Trump train, which I know there's many, they say there's up to 20% of the people that say they would never ever vote for Trump. Well, you better look at what your choices are, and you better look at the known
absolutely.
Versus the unknown.
Yeah. Well, right now with Joe Biden, I don't look. If the election was held today, Biden is so look. We've had a lot of loser presidents in the history of this country. There's no doubt about it. We've had several. I could name them right now, but Biden has topped the list. But the insanity got even crazier today with him. He told Peter Ducey, he said, "Prove to me that I'm behind in these battleground states." He said, "Why don't you and Fox go do a poll of your own? We don't trust the CNN poll." Leslie, that's like Catholics saying they don't trust the Pope. I mean, for God's sake, CNN is the most liberal network in America, and he don't trust that poll. Goodness.
Well, I mean, obviously there's somebody that's, I wouldn't be surprised if they're feeding him false information, or either when you have dementia, how you, in your mind, get something in your mind and it's true. And that's kind of what it reminds me of. It's like he's, latched onto this. He could get it out, get his words out. But I think he really believes that. I mean,
yeah, he does.
He looked frantic when he was saying that. And there's something about Peter Ducey that pushes his button anyway. I know.
It does. It does, my friend. Whoa.
He and Peter. So, yeah, I am just sickened to the point. I have many Jewish friends, and they have, almost all of them have reached out to me with their concerns. I have one friend that lives in the San Francisco Bay Area, and he is literally afraid to go out. He said it was bad enough with the homeless that were a block away from my sidewalk, and now I have to go by the courthouse when I'm coming home, and there are people out in front that are protesting, and there are hundreds of people saying death to Jews.
Wow.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, where are we? You're right.
Did you ever think that we would see that in 2023? Because that, again, that is stuff that goes back, Leslie, to the night that it started tonight. I've got a meme up right now. It's not a meme, it's a poster. This is a modern picture of a store. I think this is actually in San Francisco where you just mentioned. And basically what the Germans did, for those of the people that don't know, that was the night that they basically let the citizenry of Germany go and literally destroy every Jewish business they could in Berlin, and really across Germany in general. And a lot of these stores began to have this situation where they would discriminate to the point that a Jew was not allowed to go into the store and shop. And I'm looking at this picture right here, and literally it's a picture that's got the Israeli flag on it with a no symbol on it. And that's not 1938 Germany right there. That's 2023 San Francisco, and that speaks to your friend's point of what they're doing about kill the Jews, gas the Jews. And people have argued, said, well, we can't stop free speech in this country. I wonder if those same people were marching down the street saying, F the Muslims, kill the Muslims, kill Islam, kill all Muslim lovers. What would happen? What would happen tonight?
You would go to jail.
Yes, you would.
Go to jail,
yes,
and
you
they
would
have to pump daylight to you starting next week, and you know.
That's right.
So yeah, I think people. I've had a few people on the Democratic side. I have a few friends that are Jewish and Democrat, which blows me away. I don't know how that can happen, but okay, I'm going to be open-minded. But they're seeing that. I said, which party is protecting you and standing up for you? Well, Biden's standing up for us. I said, he's been waffling. He's been trying to set up a ceasefire since the day after. I said, do you really think, and look at Blinken. He's Jewish.
I know, he's Jewish. What do you think about these pauses that we're pushing for? I heard today that Israel agreed to 5-hour pauses. And Leslie, I think it's a mistake. I just do. I think Israel needs to tell the United States to keep your nose out of our business. That, we've done everything we can to spare human life, but Hamas, you don't think for a second, do you think for a second Hamas is going to honor a 5-hour pause in the fighting from the other side against Israel? No, they're not going to do that.
Of course not.
And Israel is being asked to put down their arms for 5 hours. I wouldn't do it. That's just me.
I wouldn't either. And I think the brutality, war is hell. I get that. But the point is, what they did to these babies, I just saw the story in detail about them putting I think it was a 5 or 6 month old baby in an oven, turning it on high, and 3 people are raping the mother while the baby's screaming and dying. And I think, what human can do that? What evil you must possess in your soul that you would do that you could even consider even being part of it. And there's thousands that did that. Thousands of people did that.
They did. And I heard today, I was reading one story, that the mass rape was part of the game plan of Hamas. In other words, they had planned that before they went into the kibbutz. That had already been predetermined. That's what they were going to do as basically a blank you to Israel, a blank you to the world, a blank you to humanity, and to show people just how barbaric they could be. And Leslie, again, I'm with you. War's hell. We hate to hear of any deaths, civilian deaths. But again, the Palestinian people chose this path when they put Hamas over them. And
that's right.
If you put a terrorist group over you, and you live by the sword, and you live by this hate, and you live with hatred toward Israel, you're basically bringing stuff on yourself. And I've got very little sympathy tonight for the Gaza Strip. I just do. I know it sounds cold. I think Israel is more than justified, and I would caution our listeners that when you're listening to news reports and they're telling you that Hamas is saying 10,000 people in Gaza are dead, we call that in the South bull turd, okay? And because I wouldn't trust Hamas if they told me the sky is blue, if they told me that roses are red, if they told me that a dog rolls over and scratches his nuts. I wouldn't believe it, And I don't mean to be so coy and crash about it, but anything Hamas says, they're doing nothing but lying. So you can't trust the figures that are coming from the media as to how many's dead. And have you noticed they never talk about the 1,500 Israeli children and what you just described being done and dead? They're always pushing, in every news story I've read since the last couple of weeks, the first words out of their mouth is how the death toll in Gaza is. They don't talk about the death toll in Israel, and they don't talk about the hostages. They don't talk about the injured in Israel. It starts with the quote-unquote death toll in Gaza. Leslie, that is evil.
I know.
That is evil.
Well, and they don't even, I'm not hearing about those Americans that are hostages. I'm not hearing about the Americans that died. If somebody killed or kidnapped 30 or 40 Americans in any other situation, do you think we wouldn't make heroic efforts to go and get those people or hold them accountable? And we have to remember, it's not just Hamas. Hamas is funded by Iran. Iran and, all of these. They're part, the interconnections of Hezbollah and all of that, and Lebanon connection and Iran. And we are talking evil. And the fact that Egypt wouldn't let all these people in, I'm stunned. You know, I'm like, no, go take your Muslims. Those are your people.
Yeah. Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. What's your thoughts on why they didn't? I've got my thoughts about this, and people ain't. It'd be a lot of. It's a good thing McDonald. It's a good thing I'm not in power, and don't have a public microphone for the world to hear me, because I'm going to tell you something. Even though I do, the world is hearing me, but not all the world. But Leslie, what's your thoughts on why Egypt didn't do it? You know what I think? I think they know what kind of people they're dealing with, and they don't want that element in their country. They don't want him in the country.
No, they're evil people. Think about it. The people that live in, quote, quote, Palestine, those are warriors. Those are people that want to fight. They want to try to retake their land. They are like Talib. They go after Jews. I don't buy all this peaceful crap, two-state crap. I'm sorry. They do not like to live. If you elect Hamas to be your leader and you choose to stay in that region, what was it, 2 or 3 million people live right there?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You choose that. We all have a choice. I got out of California, and back to Oklahoma because it's the reddest state in the country. That's why I'm here. That's part of it. I mean, I'm from here, but and that's the same with the South. And I don't want to live in Michigan. I would never live in Michigan and be represented by such hate and evil and, the Squad. What a group they are. They're and to watch Talib, did you see her crying?
I saw it. It was pathetic.
Oh, I just want to puke, and it's unreal.
No, I'm with you. No, I wanted to puke too. On a similar situation, did you hear about the report tonight that there's a possibility, and they're still trying to prove it. Reuters is denying it, CNN's denying it, AP's denying it, but there is an interesting caveat tonight that CNN has fired one of their field reporters that evidently Hamas let him get embedded in their army thing, and he had a grenade, Leslie. He was carrying a grenade with him to the kibbutz, okay? And it's the story. We've got it on the macfiles.org. If you go there tonight, folks, you can go to our Telegram room. We got the story, 2 stories up separately about it. The Gateway Pundit and Breitbart both are reporting. Leslie, if these reporters were embedded in that group, and they knew Israel was going to be attacked, and they said nothing, you know something? I think them reporters, and this is just my opinion, that's war crime stuff worthy. That is a war crime.
Absolutely.
And it's
absolutely.
They're just as culpable in the deaths of these Israelis as the Hamas people are, and they should be held to that account. And CNN should be sued. If I was a family of one of these Israeli victims, I would sue the living CNN out of CNN, the crap news network. I would sue the crap, for the use of a better word I want to use tonight. I would sue the crap out of the crap news network tonight, and Reuters and AP and all of them, and I would own every one of them. I think they would have a case.
Oh, absolutely.
I think they'd have a case.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's tragic on so many levels. We just lack such a moral compass these days. We see it every single day, from the way people act to what's allowed, what's normalized, all of the... I think my 10-year-old grandson doesn't think anything about it when he sees a Target ad with LGBTQR +++ stuff. It's in his mindset because it's his life. It's regurgitated every day on TV.
Yeah.
And the same with this fighting and the war. The whole narrative that you're going to hear, it's those poor Palestinian people, and I'm with you. I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for the people that choose to live there and choose to hate and choose to fight. Egypt didn't want them in there.
No.
Why would any country?
And Jordan didn't either. Where their homeland really is, Leslie, they want this 2-state crap. Where their home state is, didn't want him either. The Saudis didn't want him. Jordan didn't want him. All of these Arab nations that could open their doors to them have got 10 times the space that Israel's got. They could open their door tonight and it ease things up. They don't want to open their door to it because they know what they're getting if they do. But they expect Israel to deal with this. And if I was Bibi Netanyahu, I'd deal with it all right. And I would deal with it in a way that probably a lot of people would think Chris is an evil ogre. But what Israel's got to do, they've got to deal with it. I want to just make a correction. The picture I've got back up on the screen was not San Francisco. It was my bad. I misread the sentence underneath. It was Melbourne, Australia, of all places, that is posted with the no Jews allowed sign. That's exactly what that looked like on the night of Kristallnacht, Leslie, 1938, 85 years ago tonight, on November the 9th. Did you find it interesting? I know that this is the weird thing about history. History is always, when you start looking at dates, you can always look back on things and see things a lot clearer than you do right then. You know, on the Arabic calendar, and I understand in Australia as well, the calendar's read backwards. So 11/9, okay, is actually 9/11 in the world of Arabia. It's 9/11 in Australia. We read it 11/9 because we read the month first or the day second. Well, they read the day first and the month second in that part of the world. So 85 years ago, on the Arabs' 9/11, they started basically the process of killing Jews. It was also on 11/9 back, I think it was 2007. Bush was still in office, and maybe it was 6 or 5, 2005. But anyway, Jordan got attacked in a similar 9/11 type style fashion by these same Muslims. And these dates on these calendars, the Arabs are very keen about dates, and they tie things. And I was very shocked that something didn't happen in this country today. But it is sad that picture is a modern picture. Let me move on to several things, because I got a lot of other things to talk to you about real quick. Marsha Blackburn tonight, my senator from Tennessee, she has subpoenaed the Epstein flight logs, and not to bring up a sore subject, the only thing we need tonight is Juanita Broderick. We got to get you and Juanita back on a panel discussion.
Oh, I know.
That would be an award-winning panel. But Marsha's got Bill Clinton in her side, I think, and others on that flight log. Do you believe that even if the country, are we at a state now that even if the nation saw his name in black and white on those flight logs, that it would matter at this point?
Probably not. Just because everyone that reports, for the most part, except maybe less than 10% of the media, all the people in D.C., all the corrupt politicians, who's going to call them out for it? I mean, God bless her for trying to make some wrong right. I love Marsha Blackburn, but as far as having any luck, but you know, it's good. The first thing I thought of was at least she's keeping it in relevance on some level.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Juanita had said this before, you know, I'm going to die off and people aren't going to know my story. That's why I get out there and tell my story. And that's why I'm on Twitter. And
yeah.
I think she's absolutely right. And it's just the same thing happening to the Jewish population.
There's some.
We don't teach it in school. We don't talk about it anymore. I guarantee you would be hard-pressed to find a 20-year-old at any Ivy League school that could really tell you all about the Holocaust.
Very true.
I guarantee it.
No, I'll just confirm that with you. Look, we had a poll that was conducted by The Guardian in 2020. That's just 3 years ago. 18 to 39-year-olds, basically that age group, okay? I'm not sure how many, but Leslie, out of that group that they surveyed, you realize that 63% did not know that 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust. 12% claimed that the Jews caused the Holocaust, that they were the ones that perpetrated it themselves. And another 11, 12, 13%, they didn't even know the Holocaust existed. So your point is valid. And it's not taught in school, but our parents are not teaching the kids that. And, you know, And then when you think about it, you carry this over into modern times, Leslie, the 9/11 of 2001 in this country, most people don't even give it a second thought anymore. It's a long, distant memory what happened to this country 22 years ago, and it changed the course of history for America. We've never been the same since. And
No.
I'm just wondering, and again, it goes back to the faith question, because I hear people ask all the time, well, things are bad and this is going to happen and that's going to happen and we need revival and we need this and we need that. And I appreciate the fact that people want to see that. But, Leslie, the cost of that, what it would take to bring this country to its knees right now, I don't think we want to know. I'm afraid that if God gave us a peek as to what it would take for that to happen tonight, I don't know if we'd want to see that. I don't know if we'd want to know that. What do you say about that?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But let me tell you what I think. I think that we have hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of terrorists that have crossed our southern border that will and have the ability to wreak havoc in this country at sporting events, at concerts, at churches, synagogues, malls. I mean, you name it. How do you lose track of, what was it, 247, I think Blinken said, known terrorists that they don't know where they are.
Yeah, exactly. And we only took 11 on 9/11. Or how many was it? 19 hijackers, roughly? 19. Yep. So if it only took 19 to do what they did on 9/11, if you got 247, do the math, friend. Do the math. It's inevitable. It's not if, it's when. Makes you wonder. It really makes you wonder.
And we're 22, 23 years out. Think of all the new technology. Think of all the new
That's a great point.
Power that they can come up with. And what's amazing to me is, everyone's saying to Israel, how could you not know? They said everything was in analog. Nothing, they did nothing computer, nothing digital. Everything was handwritten or done, so that it couldn't be traced. Hamas did, which is really pretty amazing and pretty intelligent. They may be evil to the core, but they've got this terrorist thing down pat. They share with each other. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I know it will happen. I just don't know how and where it's going to hit.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know that.
Do you change? Let me change subjects on you a little bit to a couple more questions, and I'm going to let you go tonight. Thank you so much for being with us. When I get back, we're going to have you on the camera. You heard the debate last night. I couldn't stomach it. I just couldn't watch this crap. These Republicans are a bunch of useless. They drive me more insane.
I know.
To drink Dems, and Trump won the debate. When Megyn Kelly, who is not a Trump supporter, but when Megyn Kelly goes on her Twitter feed today and says the winner of last night's debate was Donald Trump, Trump is in good shape, because Megyn Kelly is no Trump apologist. I mean, she's just making. I like Megyn. I mean, I didn't agree with some of the way she handled him back in 2016, but I think she's come around to like Trump. And she went out there last night and said, Trump wiped the floor with all of them, and he wasn't even on the debate stage. But when the Indian guy, Ramaswamy, I have to use that, Ramaswamy, I don't know his name, but I have to make fun of him. But anyway, when he got on there and torched Roma McDaniel last night, is it fair game for him to do that? Because everybody's coming to her defense today. And
Absolutely,
I hate to tell the Republicans, if you don't get rid of Ronna McDaniel, we're going to keep losing these elections. Look, Tuesday night was a massacre for the Republicans, Leslie. In the few elections we had, it was a massacre. If it wouldn't have been for Mississippi, the Democrats would have run the table on us Tuesday night.
I know. And I know Youngkin was really expecting a lot. He thought his campaigning was going to help a lot and everything. It was abysmal. And the one thing that I keep drawing back, I think it has a lot to do with abortion. And that is such a delicate subject. I make no apology for believing it's wrong. And I think it gives you the moral question, do you compromise in some way, like Nikki Haley was saying? I personally don't want to do that. I don't think that way.
Come on, babe.
But, you know, I cannot imagine any instance when it's acceptable.
Amen. Amen. I'm glad you brought that up. Not to interrupt you. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to let you keep going, but I want to ask you a question about that. When you heard President Trump even say, because see, he's taken the side of Fox News, because their argument yesterday morning was that the hardcore stance of the Republicans on abortion led to their defeat. And Leslie, I would argue that it was the mealy-mouthed, wishy-washy stance that led to the defeat. Look, people, if this is what it's coming down to, we are screwed as a country. If we cannot stand and fight for a baby, whether it's a week old or 14 weeks old, whatever that time of that baby's conception is. And when you got President Trump out there even saying Ron DeSantis's 3-week ban on abortion or 2 weeks or whatever it was too harsh, I'm wondering about him now. I mean, where does he stand with this? And I'm with you. Look, I'm squarely with you. You can keep going what you were saying. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to throw this caveat that even President Trump is wavering on this, and he can't afford to, Leslie. He just can't afford to.
Well, I think, and you know, that's the thing I thought in Ohio. I'm like, what are these people thinking? Just from the fact that it should be a state's decision. I have no problem sending it back to the state, because I think it's going to come up one way or the other, whether it's federally mandated or state by state. And you know what? As human beings, we can choose to live in the states to support the sanctity of life.
It's very true.
And that's what I'm going to do. Oklahoma is not going to have abortions, I think. I think Kevin Stitt, our governor, will fight and do everything in his power. Sarah Huckabee Sanders in Arkansas, I think you've got some really strong people. So if you want abortions, move to New York, Ohio, or California. Yeah. That's what you need to do. Yeah. But leave me out of it, and leave my tax-paying dollars out of it on a federal level.
Well, I tell you what, Ohio shamed themselves Tuesday night. That 50, I heard, and again, I'm not going to open up a can of worms about this tonight, but there are people out there claiming all this was stolen and rigged Tuesday night. Leslie, when 56% of the voting support a constitutional right of a woman to kill a baby, that's not a rigged election. That's a spiritual declension and apostasy of the state.
That's evil.
That's spiritual evil. That's evil. It's not a rigged election. That's evil hearts voting for that, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where we're going down that road. And I'm just stunned at how fast it's happened. Think of the time, COVID. I know people are sick of people saying it, but COVID changed the world. It did. Changed the world completely. So whether you buy into that or not, I think it's realistic to say on any level it changed. It changed our rights. It changed our ability to make decisions on our own. We gave power to the government, and we've never gotten it back.
That's so true, buddy. That is so true.
I don't know, as the evil continues, if we continue to escalate at this level, it will be end times. Because, you can't have this much evil in the world. It's mind-blowing, isn't it? You think, no. If I had told you 10 years ago this is where we were going to be, you would have called me a liar and said, that's like Armageddon. That's crazy.
Well, that's what Tucker said tonight when he was interviewing Douglas Mackey, and he told Douglas Mackey, he said he came onto the show with that premise, the exact words you just said. He said, if you would have told me 10 years ago that somebody would get thrown in federal prison for making fun of a political candidate, Leslie, that's freaking Gestapo. We're talking about the 85th anniversary of Kristallnacht, but the Nazis and the Socialist Party of Germany and the Communists, that's what they do to their political opponents. They throw them in jail. That's not supposed to be going on in America.
I know. And, the corruption, and God love Jim Comer and Jim Jordan and some of these other guys that are working diligently to try to expose the Biden family and all of their evil. I just find it so ironic that Trump and his family who are being harassed and attacked, and I look at that smug DA,
I know.
I want to slap her, and
No, we need to sick Juanita Broderick on her. That's all me and you need to do. We need to buy us a bag of popcorn and tell Juanita, go to New York and visit the DA. Now, that would be popcorn worthy.
She would kick some booty, I'm telling you. But,
she would.
Yeah, I mean, you just see this, and you see the whole Trump family that are just, they're just attacked constantly. And you and I have talked about this before. God loved Donald Trump, no matter what you think of him. That man got up every day for years and years with a weight on his back, with so much hate, with so much against him, and he trudged forward. And he's doing rallies right now. He's doing court in the morning and rallies in the afternoon. Who can do that? I can't think of another human that could do that.
Well, he's got my vote. I don't agree with him on every single thing he says, but he does have my vote and support. And I think that the more that this clicks on into next year, I think, Leslie, today's November. I think by probably the summer or even the spring, I'm thinking April, I would give it 6 months. And I think in 6 months, when we come back and do another show, we'll do one before then. But by that time, when we're having this discussion, me and you, I think we're going to have a clearer picture of what's ahead of this country. I do. I think that it's still hard to read a crystal ball as to what's going to happen over the next year with this election. It just is. And I do have a question for you about that on the other side of the coin. Do you think that the Democrats, knowing the polls, seeing the polls, and feeling more and more every day that Joe Biden is in trouble, do you think they replace him and Kamala at the top of the ticket? I think you had mentioned to me before on the last show, you sort of hinted that Michelle Obama was your thought that there may be room in her for this. Do you still feel that way tonight, or who do you think is in a way it works?
Well, I wonder if, we know that Biden isn't running the country, right? So you have to think that Obama is the only president in history that has stayed in D.C. after his term.
That's a great point.
The only one. And so I'm thinking he's involved, Susan Rice, Jay Johnson, some of these other people. And I'm wondering if they are just waiting till Biden craters, and it's happening in front of our eyes every day, all day. And they say, we're going to replace this. The only sticky wicket that's really going to be glaringly obvious is the Kamala deal. Why do we not offer her that? But she's proven herself to be as dumb as a box of rocks. God love her. And I think they see it.
I don't think she's liked. I don't think the black community likes her. I don't think that she, look, if you remember this, Leslie, during the primaries of 2020, she and Joe both couldn't even get 5% support. I know. Pete Buttigieg, of all people, was almost pulling higher than they were. And I still don't know how they came to Biden and Harris. I don't know how they got that, because they wasn't even polling 5%. She wasn't. So I think that they're going to do a complete overhaul myself. I think it's going to be neither.
They have to. Michelle Obama is one person that came up. I think Hillary would love to stand in the wings and let it be her. But I think she's so hated.
Yeah.
And maybe they will utilize all of this information that's coming out about the Bidens. Maybe the party will be able to manipulate and use that and say, we don't want to be unfair. We want to be, the shining beacon for the people. So we're going to go ahead and replace it with X candidate.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's interesting.
Do you think there's anybody else waiting in the wings besides, I think, of
I
Michelle?
don't, and I will tell you this, though. I think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a wild card, and look, he's crazy. He's as dangerous as Biden. He wraps his up a little bit better. He's still a loony left, liberal, but I think that if push comes to shove, the party would turn to him in an emergency, because he's another panderer. He panders to both the far left and he panders to the middle. And you just can't, in politics, Leslie, that's not a winning thing. Because eventually one group is going to hate you for pandering to the other. I don't trust him. I'm not saying that that's gonna happen that way. Look, I have no idea what's going to happen. But other than Michelle, I don't know. And Hillary had come to mind. But I just, as I said, 6 months from now, we're going to know. I want to ask you one other question or two about the Republican side of things. What's your thoughts about our new speaker? I'm a big fan of Mike Johnson. He basically told the liberals. Him. He told the liberals tonight. He said, "If you think we just getting started. We just getting started. He's my kind of speaker. He speaks my kind of language."
Well, he's quiet and unassuming, and I was stunned when he opened his mouth and his, he laid his beliefs and how he was going to respond to things. I loved it. I was a Jim Jordan fan. I was very disappointed that didn't happen because Jim Jordan to me is a known entity. We know he's super conservative and will do right by the country. But you know what? Mike Johnson might have been a really good alternative.
Yeah.
We'll see if he can pull the party together. Everyone seems to like him on both sides as far as a person. Of course, you and I both know that's not, worth a whole lot. But, yeah, and then Joe Manchin not running again.
I'm glad you brought that up because what did you take away from that? Do you think that he was afraid that he wasn't going to get reelected, or do you think it was pressure on him to step aside?
Well, supposedly the polls I was watching, I don't know, maybe Sky News or something. Somebody was talking about it. And they were talking about him being 30% down to a generic Republican.
Wow.
And that's always amazed me that West Virginia would not be ultra conservative. That just blows me away. And, so he's moderate. He always votes with the Biden clan, though. But, he sounds more moderate than the Cory Bushes or, anyone else. But I think it'll be interesting. I wouldn't rule out him running third party, and that would really hurt Biden.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Trump a victory.
I'm with you. Do you is there anybody on that stage last night? If Trump, God forbid, look, Trump's got my vote. Trump's got my support. I'm going to be behind him. I'm not trying to say this in a negative way about Trump, but in the event that some kind of fluke thing happens and Trump don't run, is there anybody on that stage last night that you would even give a second thought to voting for? Because I have to tell you, I'm having a hard time coming to grips with the fact I wouldn't vote for any of them. And I know I got to vote for somebody, but if it's not Trump, I don't know who to turn to. How about you?
Well, everyone talks about how well Nikki Haley did and stuff. I don't care for her.
I don't care for her either.
There's something about her that I don't know. I could not define it exactly in words. I don't know if it's a lack of trust or the fact that she's been a governor and an ambassador. If I just feel like she's too involved in the politics of things.
She is.
I mean, that was her job.
Absolutely.
DeSantis, I like, but the more I hear him, I'm not a huge fan either. I think Ramaswamy is not ready yet. He's got some great points and stuff, but I don't know. He's too young to be that abrasive. Chris Christie, I wouldn't vote for if you gave me $1 million and $100.
I wouldn't vote for Chris Christie for janitor of Motel 6. And he needs to go have lunch with Mike Pence and go to the Losers Club and have a drink on Mike Pence because they're gone. Mike Pence is out now. Yeah.
Poor Tim Scott. I think he's probably toast. He probably should have already dropped out.
Yeah,
I think he would be a wonderful member of the cabinet. Even maybe Vivek, in the fact that he has a point. He is young. He is a different generation, and he is conservative. He's been in business. Make him Secretary of Transportation or some.
Good point.
There are other ways to utilize these people. Actually, I'm not a fan of any of them. Now, am I jaded by my Trump blinders? Yes.
I am too. No, we're in the same boat there. Question about Trump, go, who does he pick as his running mate?
That is a hard one. I wish he and DeSantis hadn't
burned a
been
bridge.
So, I think they would have been a dynamic duo.
Yeah, I do too. Well,
but that ain't going to happen.
No, the only other person that I would remotely think would make a good running mate, but I don't know if she's ready for it, and that's Sarah Huckabee. That's the only person that comes to mind. I do not like Carrie Lake. The same reason I don't like Nikki Haley is the same reason I don't like Carrie Lake. There's two. We have a word down south called plastic, fake, and they both come across to me as plastic fake politicians. Number one, but when you're too polished. When you're too right and you're too, out there and everything is just perfect and no hair out of place, I don't trust folks like that. Because that's not life, Leslie. That's not reality of us out here that's living this life. And they both come across to me like that. I don't trust them. And I think, the thing about Sarah Huckabee Sanders, she's down to earth. She does articulate conservative points well. She's a woman. She's from the South. Now, Trump don't need her to win Arkansas. He would,
Well, that's the thing.
I'm afraid he's going to look at somebody.
Newsom too.
What's that?
We didn't even talk about Newsom. Is he going to try to come in under the wire?
I'm glad you brought that up because that's another conventional wisdom thing that Newsom may be the one hiding in the wings for the Dems, and who knows? He may sneak into there. Look, I think that we vote a year from this past Tuesday. We are voting a year from this past Tuesday. And I think, again, within 6 months from now, and that's going to put us in the spring, we're going to have a clearer picture of what's ahead on both sides. Because that's when most of the primaries will be over. There's a few left in June. The conventions will be this summer. But I think by April or May, we're going to see exactly where we're headed. And it's an intriguing path. That's why we're going to have Leslie Millwee on a lot in 2024 to come over and us talk about it and figure this world out. But it's been so good to have you tonight. I'm going to give you about 3 minutes and wrap us up. Final thoughts, what you got. We didn't cover everything, but I did cover most of it. And I do want to get you and Juanita on a panel sometime soon. And we'll let Broderick be unleashed. And me and you're going to sit there, and I'll send you the popcorn. And you bring the Cokes, I'll bring the popcorn. Okay, we'll just listen.
You, she is always a treasure and a pleasure, and she's usually right on.
Yeah.
And I'm so distressed too. I've been doing some investigating this week of how many people are still in jail from January 6th.
I know.
And they are charged with things that literally people are not even kept in jail overnight for on the streets.
Bingo.
It goes back to what you were saying about the earlier part about these people not being arrested or held accountable. It's just double standards.
Yeah.
And I'm in my immediate future, I'm looking forward to hearing some more Biden facts. I think I have a glimmer of hope that people are going to get, I know they're sick of hearing about it, but if they'll do any kind of investigation, I have to believe that the media has to report it.
Amen, buddy.
Don't they?
Amen. No, I'm with you. It's malfeasance if they don't. But again, that's the state of this nation. Listen, it's been such a pleasure tonight. I wish I could keep you for 2 hours. And listen, our prayers are with you for what you told me tonight. I'm not going to say it publicly right now, but our prayers are with you and bless you so much. And listen, I will be in touch with you soon.
Too.
Love you, and we'll have a great night. Leslie, thank you for being with me tonight.
Thank you.
Leslie Millwee, everybody, and we appreciate you much for having us on your evening, Thursday evening on the internet. And Leslie, God bless her heart, it's so late, I didn't want to keep her too terribly long, and she was a camper tonight, It's an unspoken request. Just remember the Millwee family. But God bless her, and we are going to have her back on. We are going to have her and Juanita on a Zoom call, hopefully before the month's out. We're going to have Leslie on a Zoom call. We're in transition tonight, and it's just easier to have them on the phone than try to set up a camera and all this stuff. But listen, we're grateful for you. I do want to run over a few things with you before we close tonight. Speaking of Kristallnacht, I want to show you something. I want to thank Cleo for rounding this stuff up. She is so good about finding this stuff. This is from the Stand With Us website. For those of you that don't know, again, what happened 85 years ago, this was the night that the Kristallnacht massacre took place across Germany and in parts of Austria. And on that night, 85 years ago tonight, 91 Jews were murdered. I want you to look at this. 1,400 plus synagogues were torched. Countless Jewish-owned businesses and shops were destroyed. 30,000 Jews at that night, on that night, they started the deportation that night to the concentration camps. They had not started gassing them. That really started in 1940, 41. I think it was the Wannsee Conference that Hitler called Goebbels, Goering, what was the other one? All of these, Himmler was another one. He was such an evil, you know what? These German leaders together, and they set and basically perpetrated the final solution, as it was called. But the seeds for the final solution were planted, and it was fueled by genocidal hate, folks. And the Stand With Us Twitter handle tonight says, Israel and the Jewish people will not sit idly by as innocent people are massacred and kidnapped by Hamas terrorists. Never again is now. And tonight is the 85th anniversary. That's what this word means right here. Never again is now. And I'm not sure where that's at, but that is a very key statement tonight as we commemorate the 85th anniversary of Kristallnacht. And here is Michael Dixon with a great post. The Holocaust began with a murderous rampage. Kristallnacht, 85 years ago tonight. The only reason the Hamas massacre did not continue and become even more deadly is that today Jews have an army to protect themselves. They didn't back then. That's a great point. Never again. Never again. And Michael, you're right on, my friend. Something to think about tonight, folks. It would have happened had they not been a nation and not been protected by their government. Now, a couple of other quick things we're going to read, and then we're going to be back on tomorrow night. And tomorrow night is going to be a Friday free-for-all. We're going to let you talk a little bit more than we're doing tonight. I love this post. I want to, before I read this, I want you to listen to our illustrious former first gay president speak on the situation in Israel. I want you to listen to this tape. I'm going to roll this tape. Listen to this carefully.
If there's any chance of us being able to act constructively to do something, it will require an admission of complexity and maintaining what on the surface may seem contradictory ideas. That what Hamas did was horrific and there's no justification for it. And what is also true is that the occupation.
There's that word. All right. I'm going to stop it right there. The occupation and what's happening to Palestinians, folks, that's the argument of the world tonight. Anthony Blinken went on, I don't know what platform it was, his weekly press conference or something, and he scolded Israel here 3 days ago, and he said, we do not condone and we will not tolerate, as if the Americans can do something about it, we will not tolerate Israel reoccupying the Gaza Strip. We're reoccupying it. You've got this, again, the first gay president we've ever had. I could say something else about that, but I'll just leave it at that. But he's out there echoing the echo chamber. I'm going to keep rolling this tape about 2 minutes. Listen carefully to the wording in this, and I got something to say about it. Listen to this.
What's happening to Palestinians is is unbearable?
I want to ask Mr. Obama what's unbearable. They chose this path. Who made it unbearable, Mr. President or Mr. Obama boy? Who made it unbearable? Israel? You're sort of insinuating that the Israelis made it unbearable for the Palestinians. They did not. They have not. They never have, and they never will make it. The Palestinians have made it unbearable by their hate for Israel. Roll the tape.
And what is also true is that
listen to the crowd clapping. Listen to it.
Of the Jewish people that may be dismissed unless your grandparents or your great-grandparents or your uncle or your aunt tell you stories about the madness of anti-Semitism. And what is true is that there are people right now who are dying who have nothing to do with what Hamas did.
All right, right there. I'm going to take issue with him right there. Every freaking Palestinian has something to do with what Hamas did. They elected them. They elected them to run their government. So you see how the words are twisted? Do you see how the world twists this narrative tonight? Do you see how the first queer president of our republic twists words and twists things to fit a narrative that basically puts it back on Israel, folks, and blames them for this? Blames them for this Hamas massacre. I totally disavow and disagree with that statement, folks, and I repudiate it. They have everything to do with what Hamas did. The Hamas terrorists were representing the Palestinian people. And let's just be blunt and stop bullshitting each other tonight. If the Palestinians wanted peace, folks, there'd be peace. If Israel wanted the destruction of the Palestinians, there would be no Palestinians, period. And let's just quit bullshitting each other again tonight about something else. There were Palestinians rejoicing at what Hamas did in the streets of Gaza City. And they ain't rejoicing tonight because they're facing the tanks of Israel trying to root out these terrorists who they put over their government. So, Mr. Obama, you're a lawyer to begin with, but you're lying again and you're twisting the truth in this because they do have everything to do with what Hamas did. Roll the tape.
And what is true, right? I mean, we can go on for a while. And the problem with the social media and trying to TikTok activism and trying to debate this on that is you can't speak the truth. You can pretend to speak the truth.
Wow, that's rich coming from the biggest first homosexual president we've ever had. That's rich coming from the biggest liar that we've also ever had in that White House. Don't talk about words that you don't understand, Mr. Obama. You make yourself look foolish. Not that you ain't already foolish.
You can speak one side of the truth. And in some cases, you can try to maintain your moral innocence. But that...
Now see, I'm breaking this down for you, folks. Listen to these terms. These terms that he's using are very important. Moral innocence. He's insinuating that the Palestinians are just a bunch of innocent people that have been occupied and colonized all of these years by Israel. And just brought this on. But that won't solve the problem. Roll tape.
Won't solve the problem. And so if you want to solve the problem, then you have to take in the whole truth.
Again, Mr. Obama, don't use words you can't understand.
And you then have to admit nobody's hands are clean.
Listen to this.
That all of us are complicit to some degree. I look at this and I think back, what could I have done during my presidency to move this forward as hard as I tried? I've got the scars to prove it. But there's a part of me that's still saying, well, was there something else I could have done? That's the conversation we should be having. Not just looking backwards, but looking forward. And that can't happen if we are confining ourselves to our outrage.
Confining ourselves to our outrage. Again, listen to the wording, folks. Listen to the wording. He don't want you to be outraged tonight by what Hamas did. He don't want the world to be outraged at what Hamas did. We need to understand why they did it. We need to understand why they raped and put babies in ovens and raped mothers while they were burning their babies. We'll take 20 seconds.
I'd rather see you out there talking to people, including people who you disagree with. If you genuinely want to change this, then you've got to figure out how to speak to somebody on the other side and listen to them and understand what they are talking about and not dismiss it. Because you can't save that child without their help. Not in this situation.
Wow. That is so rich. Coming from the first gay president we've ever had and the biggest liar we've ever had. What occupation, Mr. Obama? Israel withdrew from Gaza in 2006 thanks to Ariel Sharon. Israel gave back the Sinai to Egypt in 1982. Israel offered, folks, to give the Golan Heights to Syria in return for peace. But Haifa al-Assad, which is the father of Bashar al-Assad, he refused that offer. And Israel, and this has always gotten lost on the media's discussion too, but during the time of Mr. Bill Epstein Clinton, he brought Yasser Arafat to America, and he brought Ehud Barak, and they sit down at Camp David. This happened in 2000. It happened right before Bush got elected in November. This happened in late 99, early 2000. Bill Clinton sit down, and Ehud Barak handed Arafat the West Bank. Not only did he hand Arafat the West Bank, he said, we'll share Jerusalem with you. I believe God hardened Arafat's heart because God did not want Jerusalem shared with the Palestinians. Arafat stuck his middle finger up to Clinton and Barak and said, we refuse. So when you hear the term occupation and colonization from people that don't understand what those words mean, please write this down tonight and remember these facts. To arm yourself, to fight the spiritual stupidity out there and the spiritual ignorance out there and the moral ignorance and the historical ignorance tonight, driven by genocidal hate for a people that people want to see destroyed. By the way, speaking of hate, this is a lovely South Carolina chick that I want you to watch what she's doing. And I put lovely in quotations. She's laughing.
Why are you laughing? That's not funny.
Genocide.
It's not genocide. They're kidnapped individuals.
That's at the University of South Carolina. She was tearing down, I'm going to roll that tape again. She was tearing down pictures that were put on a billboard of family members looking for missing kids in Israel. She thought it was funny. And you heard the guy, he said, what are you doing? Genocide's not funny. She said, oh, yeah, it is. Listen to her. Listen to this again.
Why are you taking those down? Why are you laughing? That's not funny.
Genocide.
It's not genocide. They're kidnapped individuals.
Well, I'm sure that her parents are real proud of her. But that's the state of our college campuses. We ain't even got to the stuff. Here's New York. Here's another wonderful bunch. He's calling the Jews filthy. The context of this video, there was a riot in New York City yesterday, and Jews got beat up. And the guy, ho, 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 was laughing at the Jews getting beat up. And you heard what he said. He called them filthy. Folks, this is not happening on the streets of Berlin of 1938, 85 years ago tonight. This happening on the New York City stage in 2023. It gets worse. There's other videos out there. I just don't have time to show them all tonight. By the way, here's a great tweet sent to Mr. First Gay President of History and Mr. Obama. Former President Barack Obama claims that we are all responsible for what's going on in Israel and Gaza. I love Daniel Borowski's Twitter handle. He says, excuse me, Barack, you and your flunkies, and I got another term for that, Joe Biden are totally responsible for reaming Iran and by extension Hamas and Hezbollah. You disregard and contempt, your discontempt and regard for Jews is and reprehensible. Folks, let us not forget that this piece of turd right in that picture there, and I pray for that piece of turd. I pray for a soul. I pray for the piece of turd soul in the White House. But don't stop them from being pieces of turd, what they did. He financed this war with that $15 billion in that tarmac in 2015. That came from Barack Obama and Joe Biden. That ain't even talking. We ain't even talking about the $6 billion that everybody's up in arms about that Joe sent him just recently for the prisoner exchange. Let us not forget. I think it was $150 billion. Come to think of it, that they just laid out on a tarmac of cash. Can you imagine what that looked like? That's Barack Obama's doing. But I remind Mr. Barack Obama tonight, folks, that he's mincing words about the terrorism and trying to make it Israel's moral problem. There is no occupation of Gaza tonight, folks. Israel gave that up in 2005, not 6, but 2005, the year of Katrina. Wish we had John McTurnan on tonight. Folks, let me remind you tonight, as you've done to Israel, so shall it be done to you. As you have done to Israel, so shall it be done to you. But remember these dates. Remember these dates because they're important. By the way, my bad. Thank you, Cleo. I should have remembered this. This figure is actually from Germany. It's at the Brandenburg Gate. Never again. Chancellor supports the Jews. Palestinians there are doing as they please. But this was basically in Germany tonight on the 85th anniversary of Kristallnacht. Never again. Never again. And folks, that should be our cry as well tonight. Never, ever, ever again. And I think that's about all we've got left. One other quick thing tonight before I let you go. This is funny. This is Dr. Eli David. I've been trying to get him on our show. He seems like an interesting character. Al Jazeera was filming today and claiming that the Palestinians were, I don't know, being herd and hauled into Gaza, okay? They accidentally filmed Hamas terrorists among them inside the Indonesia hospital in Gaza. So the reporters and this media folks is beyond reprehensible. I will say this as I close tonight. I'm not going to take any questions and any comments tonight. Listen, it's late, and we're going to regroup. We're going to be on the Bible study tomorrow. Sorry we didn't have one today. We'll be back in the morning on the Faith Network. This and that tomorrow night. Free for all. We may get Jason Miller on a little bit. Nicholas Giordano will be our guest Tuesday night. Monday night's up in the air. But Tuesday night, we're going to have Professor Nicholas Giordano. I'm looking forward to him being with us. He's going to be talking about this hate on these campuses because he's seen it firsthand in New York. These reporters, if it's proven true what these stories are circulating tonight, that they knew ahead of time that this attack was coming because they were embedded with Hamas, and that CNN reporter that had that grenade, to me, he's just as guilty as murder as anything the Hamas terrorists did. And he needs to be treated like one. He needs to be treated like one. That's just my thought. That's just my thought. So, that's the state of your world tonight. And on this 85th anniversary of the most, at really the beginning of the worst atrocity known as the Holocaust, And I want to say it again with no uncertain terms tonight, folks. The people that deny that October the 7th took place are no better than the deniers of the Holocaust. They're worse. And you scum out there that are insinuating that Israel's lying about the babies being burned in ovens and the babies being beheaded and the women being raped, and all you want to talk about is these poor, pitiful Palestinians. No, these poor, pitiful Palestinians, folks, have everything to do with what is going on with Hamas tonight. Do not be deceived. Do not be taken in by this sorry, you-know-what media that's trying to convince you otherwise tonight, and former first queer presidents doing the same thing, who I have no respect for, as you can tell. I want to make it abundantly clear tonight. They have everything to do with what Hamas did. They were rejoicing over it. So don't give me this song and dance about, well, the Palestinians are not, they're just innocent bystanders. They've never been innocent bystanders, folks. They've never wanted peace with Israel. They want Israel's destruction. Look, Yasser Arafat was handed everything the Palestinian Authority was screaming for, and he walked away from it because he did not get all of Jerusalem. Ehud Barak's political career was destroyed by this, as it should have been. God hardened his heart that day here at Camp David in 2000. God would not allow Jerusalem to be given away to the Palestinians. He wasn't going to allow it. And Yasser Arafat got up and walked away. So again, when you hear this bullshit talk about the occupation, remember those dates and remember those facts. Israel's never occupied the Gaza Strip. And Israel's never occupied the West Bank. That West Bank is Judea and Samaria. The Bible don't call it the West Bank. The Arabs do. And the media does. And we're going to get into that in the weeks to come. Listen, it's late. And I'm out of time and out of gasoline tonight. So I'm going to let you go. We're going to get freshened up, get ready to go at it tomorrow. Fight hard and heavy tomorrow night late. We're going to have this and that. And a lot of you sent some great questions in to the forum about the land. We may take those and read those all. We're going to open the chat up a little bit more tomorrow night. And listen, we're grateful that you've been with us tonight. God bless you. God bless your families. And God bless Leslie Millwee for being with us. Did you enjoy her? You Facebook folks can put some fire in that house. YouTubers can't. Put some fire in the house on Facebook for me. And I want you to have a good night tonight, folks. Listen, I love you. We'll see you in the morning on the Bible study on the Faith Network and back here tomorrow night on the E Network. And until then, McDonald out on this 9th of November 2023, the 85th anniversary tonight of Kristallnacht, which is basically was the beginning of the Holocaust. I want to read these figures one more time before we leave tonight, folks, because what's going on tonight has the earmarks of what took place 85 years ago. 30,000 Jews were deported that night to concentration camps. Countless Jewish-owned businesses and shops were destroyed. 1,400 synagogues were completely torched, and 91 Jews were murdered on the streets of Germany and Austria that night, all at the applause and the okay of the German government under one Adolf Hitler. You anti-Semites that are trashing Israel, you know better than the people that perpetrated that act of violence on them 85 years ago. You should be ashamed of yourself tonight. That's what you're supporting when you trash Israel. That's what you're doing verbally. What took place physically 85 years ago, and I'll stand by that tonight. Because this is the Mac Files, it ain't the U Files. And I'm Christopher Wayne McDonald, and I approve this message. And I approve this message that you have a good night, and I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow, Lord willing. And the creek don't rise. And I'm going to play in times like these going out tonight. Be blessed. Be blessed tonight. I'll see you tomorrow on the Mac Files. Good night, everybody. Thank you, Leslie Millwee. In times like these, we need the Savior. In times like these, we need an anchor. Be very sure very sure. Your anchor holds and grips the solid rock. In times like these, we need the Bible. In times like these, we need revival. Be very sure. Be very sure. Your anchor holds and grips the solid rock. This rock is Jesus. Yes, He's the one. This rock is Jesus, the only one. Be very sure. Be very sure. Your anchor holds and grips the solid